Welcome to the Fiscal Physical Podcast. Join us each week as we sit down with the founder of Alchemy Wealth Management and author of Your Fiscal Physical, Ryan Nelson. Tune in to gain valuable insights and practical tips as we simplify complex financial concepts into digestible lessons. From budgeting to retirement planning, this podcast is your go-to resource for mastering financial literacy.
Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode of the Fiscal Physical Podcast. My name is Aaron Hoisington, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host here, Mr. Ryan Nelson, founder of Alchemy Wealth Management, published author as well. Find his book on Amazon, and I guess we'll start here with Ryan. How are you today, my man?
Doing pretty darn well. How are you doing?
I am doing great. I'm enjoying life. Life's busy as always, but it's a good kind of busy for sure. So I can't complain too much. But how's everything in your life going?
It's going well. Yeah, really well.
Excellent. At the time of this recording, I think the Packers will be like 9-1 at this point.
Yeah. At the time of it's airing.
Yeah, exactly. Time of this episode airs, like they pretty much will have booked Super Bowl tickets by then too.
Exactly.
So excited for that. But before we get into any kind of fun sports stuff, let's talk about annuities. If you're okay with that,
let's do it.
I think that this is something that I was reading. I was actually perusing your book the other night, and you have a section on annuities describing kind of a little bit what they are not, what to be careful of. And it really kind of piqued my interest because I feel like there's situations where they might be good, might not be good. So I'm excited to kind of talk about this topic here. So I'm going to go ahead and let you take it away and kind of break down what they are, what they aren't, and where they might be applicable.
Yeah, perfect. Let's do it. So an annuity, it is an insurance product.
Okay.
So I think oftentimes people don't kind of correlate the two or think about the two similarly, but an annuity is an insurance product, so it is sold by an insurance company, and it is a contract. I'll kind of read the more technical definition straight from my book. But so an annuity is a contract in which the investor receives a lifetime income stream in exchange for a lump sum payment or monthly premiums. So effectively, again, what that means in layman terms is you pay money into this annuity, and then what you get out of it is you receive a lifetime income stream. And so oftentimes I think an easy parallel for people to draw on is that of an annuity. Most people obviously today don't receive annuities, but are familiar with annuities. And that's where you would work for a company for whatever, 30 years, then you retire, and then the company would pay you out the pension. Sorry,
I was going to say, I think you're talking about pension.
I think I was saying annuity. Sorry.
No
yeah. So these are similar to sort of like a pension.
Gotcha.
So you'd work for a company for 30 years, then you'd collect your pension, and that might mean they pay you whatever, $4,000 a month every month for the rest of your life.
Sure. Whether
you live to be 70, 80, 90, 100, 120, right?
Right.
It doesn't matter. You just get this guaranteed income for life. So that is a pension. An annuity is almost like where you can create a pension yourself. So you pay money into this insurance product, and then you can take out, in theory, monthly or annual. Some of them are set up a little bit differently, but you can take out an income stream for the rest of your life. So simply put, that's what an annuity is.
Okay. And just with that in general, I mean, that idea of having like a monthly fixed income, having that come in, that sounds great. Just like, wow, that would be nice if I was able to guarantee that was something that comes through.
Absolutely. Yeah. So definitely, I think on the surface, I mean, probably everybody would gravitate towards that. And there are a lot of pros to annuities. Like everything in life, there's unfortunately a lot of cons as well, right?
Yep.
But one thing I'll note is, so I know I've said it, now in probably, I don't know, a dozen podcasts, I feel like, and I'll say it in a dozen more, but so this is an insurance product. So again, we always want to remember insurance is not a good investment. Investments are not good insurance, right?
Right.
And we don't want to confuse the two. And with annuities, it starts becoming this really, really gray area where most people would consider the annuity they bought like their retirement income. They'd consider it their like an investment. And it really does start becoming quite a bit of a gray area. And the way I like to think of annuities is is if we think of it sort of as a parallel to life insurance. So again, it is an insurance product. It's almost the inverse of life insurance, though, and let me explain that. So life insurance is almost protecting you from passing away too early. Mm-hmm. So if I were to buy life insurance now, I could potentially be buying it to protect my future income stream. So if I bought it and I owned life insurance and I was to pass away now, my family might be able to receive this lump sum, maybe $1 million. They wouldn't receive any of my income for the next decade or 2 decades or 3 decades, but they'd receive this $1 million lump sum, and hopefully that would help them be financially all right. And so again, if I were to pass away too early, life insurance would be a great way to protect that future income stream, right? An annuity is almost just the opposite of that, where it protects you from passing away too late. I'll put it in quotes, right?
Sure.
So maybe you had enough retirement assets to live until whatever, 90. And you said, I'm going to, spend X amount per month every month until I'm 90. Perfect. But what happens if you live to be 115?
Sure.
Right? Then you say, oh my goodness, there's 25 more years that I wasn't planning for, right? And so an annuity can be a tool, again, to protect yourself from almost passing away too late. And so what you're doing is you're giving up income in replace for that income. You're getting, typically it's going to be you're giving up, assets, and in replacement, you're getting monthly income. Now, oftentimes that monthly income you're getting is not as high, is not as much as if you would have just kept the initial assets,
sure,
right? And take in withdrawals from those. And you think you put yourself in the insurance company's shoes. Of course, that makes sense, right? They don't know if you're going to live to be 120, right?
Right.
So they take all these people's money who buy these annuities, they sort of pool them together, they run their calculations and they say, okay, if you buy it at this age, we can pay you X amount per month. And of course, they have to compensate for the people who are going to live to be 120. Mm-hmm. But either way, you're pooling all your money together. You're getting a fixed amount out each month. And that's in essence what an annuity sort of is. I'll pause there. Any questions about that?
Yeah, no, it's the piece of it being an insurance product. It really kind of rings true, because honestly, I didn't know specifically that it was an insurance product overall. And that kind of, I guess, the separation, I always like to think separation of church and state is what I always grew up learning about. And so I think that be able to separate, what's an investment and what's not an investment when it comes to insurance overall. Mm-hmm. So I think that kind of paints a good picture. Now, where would you say that, I guess, when would it be a good decision, I guess? So let's talk about some of the reasons, some of the pros of these things and why some people might want to buy them. Mm-hmm. So I'd say one good option is it alleviates. So let's say I had $1 million for retirement. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying this would be a wise decision. Sure. But in theory, one extreme example is I could take all $1 million and go buy a big annuity, and then I just get monthly income for the rest of my life, right? Mm-hmm. Again, I'm not saying that's a good decision. Sure. In fact, it's probably not. Yeah. But that'd be an extreme example. And so I take my $1 million, buy a big $1 million annuity, I get monthly income for the rest of my life. Hey, if that would alleviate you from having to deal with all the, maybe I'll put in air quotes here, headaches of managing your nest egg. Mm-hmm. You now just have monthly income. You don't have to worry about investing. You don't have to worry about inflation rates. You don't have to worry about any of this stuff, right? So I'd say there's benefit there, right? There's peace of mind there. Also, you wouldn't have to. So if I took this $1 million, put it into an annuity, I'm now not necessarily worried about if the stock market, and I'll preface this, there's so many different types of annuities. There's I'm sure there's
annuities, variable annuities. There's all sorts of different. Here we're talking about some of the more basic, straightforward types of annuities. But, largely if you were to put $1 million in and just buy an annuity that's going to give you monthly income for the rest of your life, you wouldn't have to worry about what the stock market does. If it goes up 10%, drops 10%, goes up 30%, drops 30%, you don't really care. You just have your monthly income coming in every month. So again, you don't have to worry about how market fluctuations could impact your withdrawals, which again, that's nice, right? And there's something that we would call sequence of return risks. So there might be two individuals who both earn an average of 7% returns. One individual has negative returns at the beginning, right when they retire, they have negative returns, and then they have some positive returns at the end, and they average out at 7%. And there could be another individual who averages 7%, but they start with good positive returns at the beginning of their retirement, and then they have negative returns on the back end. Again, over, say, a 30-year window, they both average 7%. But where those returns came, so the negative returns for one individual came at the beginning of retirement. The negative returns for another individual came at the end of retirement. The difference in those people's portfolios would be drastic.
Sure.
And even though they both average 7% returns. And so that's what we would call sequence of return risk. And so you can just alleviate that if you were to buy an annuity. You're not worried about the sequence of your returns and maybe retiring into a negative market. So there's certainly, again, some value there. Gives you, again, peace of mind. And I'm going to put, your income will be, again, in air quotes, guaranteed. I don't think anything in this world is 100% guaranteed, but, with these insurance contracts, you do have a contract where the insurance company has stated that they're going to give you this income. And so, yeah, I'd say those are some great value because there's value there, right? And so somebody who's looking to solve those issues, an annuity could be a phenomenal solution for them.
Yeah, and then we're going to get into some of the cons, obviously, there, and like looking at, I mean, I don't know if it's the best, I guess, comparison here, but I almost looked at it kind of like a timeshare. Like you think about like a timeshare, sometimes it can be a really good investment, and then other times you don't know what you're buying, and it can be like a bit confusing and such too. And so like I think
winner timeshares good investments.
I don't know. Well, actually, one of my neighbors, like I was talking to her the other day, they bought a timeshare in like 1970,
cool,
and like was like dirt cheap, and they got a fixed contract on it, and they have like a $400 anyway.
Sure, yeah.
I assume there's very rare occasions when they are good, and I feel like that can kind of be equated to like annuities in certain cases. Like, yeah, they might be work in a certain situation if you want one certain thing, or you're looking for specifically those things that you laid out. But I'm guessing in once again, we're not giving financial advice here, but I'm guessing there's other reasons why you wouldn't want to do an annuity. I guess there's cons associated with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So let's talk about some of those cons. So the expenses in an annuity are often very high, and a lot of times they're not very transparent. So, it kind of in the industry what we'd call a hidden fee, right? And so if you're trying to evaluate your annuity and try to do your due diligence and figure out what the costs are, it's not always easy to do, which sucks. So you're trying to do the right thing, you're trying to figure this out, and you just can't quite get a good grasp of these fees. That'd be a pretty common experience. And then again, those fees are oftentimes quite expensive and quite a bit higher than maybe you were initially thinking or planning on. So I think that's by far and away the largest negative with these annuities. But then secondly, and I kind of alluded to this earlier, they may pay out less than other potential strategies. So as you buy an annuity, you're taking a lot of the risk off of your plate and you're putting it onto the insurance company's plate, right? If you kept some of that risk on your plate, you could expect some potentially more reward, and you'd be able to spend a little bit more per month. So again, if you were to take that, let's just use random numbers. I'm not saying, I don't have any illustrations or quotes in front of me or anything, but to illustrate the point, if you had $1 million and you go buy $1 million annuity, maybe the annuity company says, hey, we'll pay you out, say, $40,000 a year. Every year for the rest of your life. Now you don't have to worry if the market goes up, goes down, whatever. You get $40,000 every year for the rest of your life. Whereas if you just had that $1 million and you had it invested, maybe you say, oh, maybe I'll be able to spend 45,000 of it or 50,000 of it, right? Depending on what stage of life you are and how you're investing. And so, so you might be leaving some potential money on the table by buying an annuity. But again, the trade-off is you're taking less risk now too, right? So there's always those give and take and pros and cons. And then another potentially negative of an annuity is they have pretty complex rules. So kind of like the expenses, how they can be convoluted and confusing. A lot of the rules are a little bit convoluted and confusing as well. And oftentimes they don't favor the investor. They favor the insurance company. And if you try to get out of some of these annuities, oftentimes it's not easy to do. And there could be large fees or surrender charges to get out. So it's one of those things where maybe you make a decision, you get in, and you would hope you could just sort of reverse that decision at some point in the future if you wanted to. Right. And oftentimes it's not as easy to reverse that decision as you might have hoped. So sometimes, I'll talk to clients who almost feel trapped in an old annuity they bought, which is unfortunate. So those would be things that you'd really want to pay attention to before getting into any sort of annuity. Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense, because I think we've talked about it several times here that life changes, you change, like what's good now, the way that the amount of money that you
may want in your future right now is probably going to change over the next, for myself, like probably 30 years or something like that.
Yeah.
So I would hate to be locked into something that I can't easily change or shift my strategy for because something comes up and now I have a lot more money and I'm like, well, I don't actually need this annuity. I'm going to put this somewhere else, and you might not be able to get out of that as easy as kind of maybe locks you in potentially. Once again, depending on the annuity itself.
And you bring up a good point. And one of the things, so like in this hypothetical example we keep using, if you had $1 million and one person goes buys $1 million annuity with it, they would be giving up liquidity of their assets. So, they may get $40,000 a year every year for the rest of their life. Pretty cool. But what if they have to, replace a roof next year and they need an extra 30 grand? It's like, well, you're only getting 40 grand that year. You gave up the access to the rest of your capital. So now you got your 40 grand, 30 of it's going to the roof. That's tough. Maybe you wish you would have kept a little high, right? Yep. And again, that's a super extreme example. Most people would not put 100% of their net worth in an annuity, and nor do I ever. I don't know if I've ever heard anybody recommend anybody do that. That's a very extreme example. Typically, when people are buying annuities, they're buying something like 15, 20, 25, 30% of their net worth is going into an annuity, and it can be a decent supplement, right? If you think about somebody who is maybe a school teacher or worked for the government and they have a pension. So again, an annuity, we said earlier, is sort of like creating your own pension in some ways. Those people who have a pension that represent a portion of their net worth, that can be awesome. Even those people probably don't want their pension to represent all of their income, all of their net worth. They probably want some savings on the outside as well. And so this would be true too. You would never want to put 100% of your money into an annuity. You'd want to, work with a professional and figure out what percentage is appropriate and find a balance there.
That all makes sense for sure. It's you never want to put all the eggs in one basket.
Exactly right.
If that basket of eggs is just a basket of annuities, maybe that might not be the right choice there for you. But awesome, Ryan. Well, thank you so much. Really appreciate it, man. We'll go ahead and pause here, and we'll be back on the other side of this.
Perfect.
And now to put the personal in personal finance.
Welcome, everybody, back to this side of the Fiscal Physical podcast. I'm still here with Ryan, and we are going to do the personal section here. And I have some trivia questions for you, Ryan, related to Nevada. So are you ready?
Yeah, let's hear it.
All right. So I like to guess how many you're going to get on these, and I think you might get a few of these.
Okay.
I'd be curious. I'm really curious to see. So
very precise. A few.
Yeah, a few of these. Yes, one to five.
Out of how many?
6.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think that there's a good chance that you can get a few of these. But let's just start with basic one here. What do you think is the population of Nevada? Of the whole state of Nevada as of 2024 is where I got this numbers.
Yeah, you'd think I would know that. Let's say 3.2 million.
That's exactly right around what it's like. 3.19 something. So I'm going to count that as a win right there.
Perfect.
Holy smokes, 1 for 1. All right, now can you name the top 5 most populated cities in Nevada?
That's going to be surprisingly challenging. I'm going to say number 1, Las Vegas.
Yes.
Number 2, Henderson.
Yes.
Number 3, North Las Vegas.
Yes.
Number 4, Reno.
Yes.
Number 5, Sparks.
Nope.
I
I actually didn't know this was specifically a city either. I was like, I as soon as I was like, but
what is it?
Enterprise, Nevada, which is just a suburb of Nevada, or suburb of Las Vegas.
Yeah.
It's to the south versus but holy cow, dude, you got 4 out of 5 there.
Hey,
I didn't think you'd get the North Las. That was the one that I was like looking
North
at
Las
this.
Vegas.
I was like, oh, North Las Vegas is its own city, and I was like, holy cow, look at that. So, excellent job with that. Now, where does our state capital, Carson City, land in the number of, I guess, of most populated cities in Nevada as far as a number goes? So Carson City has 58,000 people, just as a heads up. I don't know if that helps or
hinders. I'll say 9th.
10th.
10th.
Hey, awesome, man. Well, that was great. Holy cow. I'm very impressed by that. I looked up these and I was like, well, I would have gotten probably Las Vegas and Henderson.
Yeah.
Other than that, I was like, I don't know where Reno falls specifically on that overall. So awesome. Well, blew through those real nicely there.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
this is when this airs, you're going to come out looking really good there. So
That's what I like to hear.
yeah, as do I. As do I. So excellent, Rob. We'll go ahead and wrap this one up here. Appreciate the time as always, man. And we'll be back next week, and I'll let you play us out here.
Thanks, and as always, stay the course.
Thank you for joining us for the Fiscal Physical Podcast. Until next time, happy listening, and as always, stay the course. If you have a question or topic suggestions, please email us at podcast@alchemywealth.com. If you enjoyed today's discussion, subscribe to the podcast to ensure you never miss an episode, and consider leaving us a rating and review on your favorite platform. This helps other listeners like you find the show. For more resources, you can visit Alchemy Wealth Management's website at www.alchemywealth.com or find your Fiscal Physical, the book, on Amazon. We'd be remiss if we didn't mention that personal finance is just that, personal. Please don't take anything we say as advice. The preceding content is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It's not an offer or a solicitation, nor should it be construed or relied upon for tax, legal, or investment advice. It doesn't consider your personal financial situation or objectives and may not be suitable for you.